From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight with Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. Happy Wednesday to everybody. Steve Atwater in studio with us tonight. Steve, what's up, man?
What's up, Ryan Edwards, Benjamin Allbright?
What's going on?
It's good to have you here. Got a chance to watch another week of practice, another OTAs out there. And I tell you what, man, Pat Surtain, looking pretty good.
Oh, man, he's tall. He's showing us every part of his game. He's up there pressing guys, jamming them. He's off, playing man-to-man, zone coverage, playing cover two. He can do it all. And this is such an early stage, too. It's really impressive that he can do so many things so well.
Got to come down with that interception, though, man. It was in his hands right there on the sideline.
Man, we're DBs, but he'll catch a majority of those. His hands are much better than mine were.
It was fun watching the defense chirp out there.
Well, yeah, you mean Kareem Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Going back to the Pat Surtain thing, though, like he was imitating, how he's been doing everybody's different position. On that one, he was on Darby.
Oh, come on,
I'm
man.
just messing with you.
Come on.
I'm messing with you. I love you, Ronald Darby. But, Surtain looked good out there. It's just nice to see the guys look like they're having fun out there. And it looks like there's kind of an energy out there a little bit. Didn't see some of that last year, with all the Zoom stuff and then the truncated training camp. Didn't really feel like it. It didn't really feel like guys were as energetic and as happy as kind of up. And this year, it kind of feels like guys are a little bit more up. So maybe that's.
They talked some noise during training camp.
Everybody talking noise during training camp. But I talked noise to Steve up there at the top during training camp. I was chirping at him the whole practice.
I know, man.
He was just ignoring him. I couldn't get his head.
I tell you what, though, there's a certain swagger. There's a personality to this team, and it comes from the defense. One day, though, got to see the offense have a little bit of that. You don't really have those kinds of guys right now out there. Now, Courtland Sutton isn't doing the 7-on-7 stuff just yet, so maybe when he gets back and if he mosses somebody, then he's going to be out there. But
I think Jerry Jeudy has it in him too, man.
He's pretty soft-spoken
guy. He's had a few drops last year. He's probably trying to play it a little quiet right now, but once he gets into the groove, he's going to be right there talking smack. KJ Hamler, all those guys. Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick can talk.
I know Seth Williams likes to talk. We haven't had a chance to see that yet. He's a late drafted rookie. Maybe that'll come with some time, though. And maybe he brings that to the room a little bit. I mean, the offense hasn't had kind of that level of swagger for several years now.
Yeah, and I think it makes it fun, makes practices a lot more competitive. I know we used to talk stuff all the time, man. But it all being fun. We were always, I wouldn't say we were always super respectful, but, we were considerate.
We were considerate.
Yeah, we talked some noise, though.
What did you think about the chemistry of the quarterbacks with Jerry Jeudy today, more specifically Teddy Bridgewater?
Well, hey, that was a beautiful pass that he threw down the right sideline, caught him right in stride, right in the middle of the end zone, touchdown. Benjamin Allbright doesn't like it, but that's what happened.
I don't like it. I love it. I love it when he connects for touchdowns. What I don't like is when he misses a wide open 6'5" wide receiver blazing 2 feet open on the or 2 yards open on the post. That's what I don't like.
He didn't realize he was that tall.
Right, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Like I said, I feel like Teddy Bridgewater once in a while is just trying to throw guys, overthrow them a little bit just to show us he can.
He overthrew a 6'5" receiver. I mean, like Shaq might not have got that ball.
Okay.
Listen, we know that Teddy's still developing a little bit of that chemistry.
Right.
And even Drew had some tough moments out there
too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and Drew had a couple of times there just wasn't anybody open. Mm-hmm. Like he actually had to work on the quote-unquote scramble drill during 7-on-7, which is not something you really want to do.
Well, but it's nice to see guys continue through, the receivers continue through on the scramble drill. You don't want a quarterback doing that. That said, Drew was throwing with the 2s and Teddy was throwing with the 1s. And Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton usually going to get a little bit more open than Dontrell Willis.
You a little concerned about some of the differences there in arm strength. That's something we've talked a little bit about. And even Jerry Jeudy acknowledged after in his press conference just how Drew Lock sort of throws very hard, has more of a drill it in there, where Teddy Bridgewater is a little bit more of a floater in there. I don't know. From your perspective.
You heard Jerry Jeudy say that?
Yeah, he said that.
Oh, dang. He throws floaters?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dang.
I tried to tell you. I was trying to tell you earlier.
You can find a way to still work with that, right?
Yeah. And, I noticed that really first day when I saw Teddy Bridgewater out there throwing that, he doesn't put as much zip on the ball as Drew Lock does. But, again, for me, it's more about efficiency and accuracy versus how hard can a guy throw the ball. I've seen guys be able to throw beautiful balls, that have the perfect amount of touch on them, and they make it there just in the nick of time. That's all we need. We need efficiency, not hard balls.
Well, I mean, you need both, though. You need some velocity. I think velocity is not the be-all, end-all, but you've got to be able to squeeze the ball in a window, or you've got to have elite anticipation like Peyton Manning. You look at the Carolina Panthers last year, and most teams that have efficiency are good between the 20s. Carolina Panthers last year, number 8 in yards per drive. They were getting the ball down the field a certain length. Broncos, 24th. But in terms of scoring, Carolina was 24th. Broncos were 28th. That means they were settling for field goals down there.
They're still 24th, though.
What I'm most interested in here is red zone efficiency, because that's something the Broncos have been one of the worst in the league. Over the past 5 years, they're the second worst in the league, red zone, 48.7% versus the Jets, who are dead last at 44.8%. Broncos also have 59 passing touchdowns during that time, which is also second worst in the league, only next to the Jets. So something I want to see, and that we didn't really see a lot from Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina, is I do want to see the ability to pass the ball in the red zone or be more efficient there.
Yeah, now he'll be able to pass the ball. The question will be, like both Ben said, and maybe you're saying the same thing, will it be enough velocity on the ball to, enough zip on the ball to get it there quickly enough? But I think those types of passes, that should be the easiest passes for him in the red zone, a 20-yard pass, and it being, accurate. You could throw a dart down there, but if it's not accurate, it doesn't matter, So I know that we haven't seen, especially last year, we didn't see a lot of Teddy Bridgewater, because they were taking him out.
No, they took the ball out of his hands in the red zone. They were running the ball in the red zone simply because they knew that in those compressed windows he couldn't squeeze the ball in.
Yeah, so, he didn't get the opportunity, but when he's played with both the New Orleans Saints and with the Minnesota Vikings, I didn't see that. That didn't stand out to me as a big issue. So we'll see. We'll see how he fits in this offense. How he's able to navigate. How he's able to get the ball to the receivers down there. But I want to see it with my own eyes, man. I want to see him. No, I want to see him thrive. I'm not gonna say I want to see him struggle, but from what you're saying, Ben, that's just not in his repertoire,
Well, it hasn't been. I want to see somebody thrive. I don't care who it is. We get to training camp, I want to see somebody thrive. So I'm going to be hypercritical on all the quarterbacks until we get to that point where somebody jumps out.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Steve, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, fellas.
Appreciate it. When we come back, more on the quarterbacks, what we noticed from OTAs. We'll get to that next.
Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. Here are Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. Continue to react to Broncos OTAs. Let's talk some more about the quarterbacks. And this is an interesting thing because we saw Teddy Bridgewater pushing the ball down the field. Now, had some success hitting Jerry Jeudy on a couple of deep passes. Obviously overthrew Tim Patrick on the one. Got a deep touchdown to Noah Fant, but that was blown coverage, a little bit different. But the fact is we saw Teddy Bridgewater pushing the ball a little bit more in practice, which we've so far seen more of the check down kind of stuff. Now, it's a little bit of him getting more comfortable maybe. It's also a little bit, you think, about Teddy Bridgewater needing to actually go take the job. We've said for a while, if Drew Lock is going to win the job, it's going to be because he went and took it. Teddy Bridgewater can play more of the safe route. But what if we flip that on the other side? What if Teddy Bridgewater actually goes out and gets this thing?
Well, he's going to have to do it by showing that he can do those things. He's going to have to go out and show that he can and is willing to complete the deep ball. I think today's practice is a bit of a coaching mandate, too. There's a lot more vertical developing routes, a lot more you have to throw it down the field kind of stuff, and that's designed to get Teddy out of his comfort zone and see that if he's able to do it. To be honest, I missed the one touchdown, but I can tell you I saw the Jeudy one. Now, that was Jeudy just beating his man. The two that I was a little irritated about was he missed Tim Patrick on a post wide open, and then he missed another throw, and I'm trying to remember whom it was to. It was the starting group, but he missed another one deep that would have been an easy touchdown as well. And, for me, Teddy's got to hit those. I know it's still early. It's OTAs, 7-on-7s and all that kind of stuff. Hadn't got the timing down, and there's plenty of context in Teddy's favor there. So I don't want people to think I'm being negative on one and positive on the other, but he's got to hit those throws. He's got to show he can hit those throws, and that has to happen by training camp. Because if he can't do that, then you're going to go with the guy who has the capability of being able to do it over the guy that doesn't.
What do you take away from 7-on-7, especially when you're looking at the quarterbacks?
It's the velocity difference. I mean, it's night and day. Drew Lock throws the ball with above requisite velocity, and Teddy's marginal.
Okay, but how about in general? Like when you're watching 7-on-7, what's important to you during those drills?
I want to see people starting to get the timing down. I want to see the offense. I want to see the offense when you're air quotes scramble drill. I want to see them continuing on and not giving up on things. I want to see quicker decisions from Drew Lock, because I think that even with no rush, he's still kind of been a little lazy and a little long on making those reads and getting to the second and third guy. And so I want to see him speed that up a little bit if you want an improvement. Overall, you're looking at how well the secondary can cover. That kind of thing. How long they hold up, how well they hold up, that kind of thing. It's not really, there's just not a whole lot to get out of 7-on-7s. You're looking for ball placement, accurate throws, and you're looking for timing, and then you're looking for how well the secondary covers. That's really it.
There's a really good point you made there about Drew Lock holding on to the ball. And I did notice that too, a few hitches in there where I'm not saying he wants to see it before he throws it, but we did say one of the concerns this offseason and its training camp was that Drew Lock being a little bit concerned about throwing interceptions, being a little more safe with the ball, and to a detriment to where it actually is open, but he doesn't want to put himself in a position to make that throw because he doesn't want to potentially put the ball in harm's way. There's a fine line and balance to walk there, and I agree. There's been a couple of times where it's like, okay, Drew, got to get rid of it. 7-on-7, this favors the offense. Got to get rid of it. And he's still kind of hitch, and then he ends up checking it down.
Today was a little bit different because he was with the down roster wide receivers. He had the number 2 wide receivers with him. I think the best guy out there, or the most experienced guy out there, was probably Deontay Spencer, Tyree Cleveland. He had Dontrell Willis out there. By the way, Willis kind of impressed me a little bit. There were a couple of plays there where I really liked what he was doing. But overall, yeah, Drew was they had the number 2 receivers against the number 1 corners. You're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage in that it's going to cause guys not to get open. At least he didn't uncork one and throw an interception. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'd rather him eat it and throw it out of bounds. I'd rather him find the check down than I would, see him. Drew has shown a propensity for not taking sacks. For whatever else you want to hate about him, he's definitely shown a propensity for not taking sacks. And so if he can do that and learn to throw the ball away or take the check, take the easy stuff, and not throw interceptions, the offense will be better for him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting sort of to rank the way you'd like him to approach that. If the guys aren't open, what do you want him to do next? And again, that it's all subjective. It's all down and distance, spot in the field. Do you want him to try to take off and run, that type of thing? But doesn't take a sack. That's good. That's a positive. Do you want him to try to make something with his legs? Do you want him to throw away the football? In his development where he's at right now, I think that's an interesting conversation to have about what's beneficial for him in the short and long term, and what can he learn from what he did last year.
Well, yeah, he needs to take all those lessons together and kind of do that. He knows that based on last year that there are some things he's got to clean up with his game. It's not just mechanical. Some of it's mental. Some of it's the eyes.
Right.
And he needs to put all that together. He needs to, the sessions with Manning, all this kind of stuff. You got to take all these different things, and eventually you got to put it all together. And the difference between being a thrower and being a quarterback is the difference between where Drew Lock is and where he could be. And he's got to become that. He's not a quarterback right now. He's a thrower. He's an athletic thrower of the football, but it gets him in trouble. He tries to make throws he can't make. So he's going to have to learn to become a complete quarterback. He's got a couple of months to finish that out, grow up, and finish doing it. And if he does, then, he'll take the job and be the Denver Broncos quarterback. And if he doesn't, well, they got Teddy Bridgewater waiting in the wings.
I want Teddy, going back to the original point of this segment, I want Teddy to go get it, not be waiting for Drew Lock to make a mistake. And I think it's going to be better for the team overall if it's very obvious Teddy went out there and took the job rather than just waiting for Drew Lock to implode.
But even the vernacular they're using there is the key. Teddy has to go take the job.
But we've also said for a while that he can play it safe and just wait for Drew Lock to make a bunch of mistakes, and then Teddy Bridgewater will get it by default. Like the Trevor Siemian route
maybe.
here.
Maybe, but that's the thing. Like that, it all hinges on Lock. It's not about Teddy. It's really not about Teddy either way. If he wants the job, he's going to have to go take it from Drew Lock. It's Drew Lock's job to lose. Any which way we frame that, it's semantics on that. Drew Lock is QB 1A. And so as much as they're churching this up as a quarterback competition, Teddy's going to have to prove that he can throw deep, and Drew's going to have to prove that he won't make mistakes. And whichever one of those does the better job is going to be the deciding factor.
All right, really well said. When we come back, Jerry Jeudy very busy out at practice. What did Vic Fangio have to say about his development? We'll get to that next.
Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. here are Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Yeah, I think he's in a far better place, obviously, than he was last year at this time. I think a big thing what happened with Jerry, like I told you guys back when it happened, after in the 15th game last year when he had some drops in that game, I thought it was going to be a defining moment in his career, how he played the following week. And in our last game, if you remember, he had a very good game, caught a bunch of balls for a bunch of yards. And I think that was a very defining moment in his career. And I see a more focused, more diligent receiver on the details. And he knows he can't slack. And I see a much more mature guy right now.
Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. That was Vic Fangio talking about Jerry Jeudy, saying he's more focused on the details right now. And then Jerry Jeudy talked a little bit about that for him it was attention to detail. It wasn't so much about learning how to catch. It was, I need to focus on the details. I need to get the ball, then make the moves that I'm making. It's still going to be something that we're paying very close attention to because even as you said, last week's practice, we noticed a couple of drops, and that's just going to be something that he needs to be able to forget about as fast as possible and move on. I thought this week he had a very productive practice.
Yeah, he looked a lot better today, certainly. He's going to have to be he's going to have to hang on to the football any which way you slice, whatever way you want to pin that, put that, whatever, the details, the practice, the jugs machine, whatever you want to say. As long as you catch the ball, I don't care about the end of it. I don't care about the process as long as the result is I'm hanging on to the football, and that's going to be where it's at. In the end, he's going to have to show that he can do that. There were some clutch drops last year. It wasn't just that Week 16 game. There were games all over where there's some severe drops by him that were eye-opening, and there started to be some grumbling about that a little bit towards the end of the year. It's like, the team, like, is this a guy who can hang on to the football? Is this a guy who's going to be reliable? Can I trust him? That kind of thing. And so, I think Jerry has to come out and show that he's that guy this year, that I'm going to hang on to it no matter what. You get me the ball so I can make a play. And teams, opposing DBs were raving about his route running and everything else last year. We saw Xavier Howard come out and talk about he was the best route runner he saw all year. And that's great. But at the end of the day, if you can't hang on to the football, all the route running in the world doesn't matter. Same thing with speed. Look at John Ross. If you can't hang on to the football, all the track speed in the world doesn't matter. So Jerry's got to come out. He's got to show that he can do that, whether that's, like you said, the details, focusing on whatever umbrella you want to put that under. If you hang on to the football, the rest of it doesn't matter.
And he looks like, in this early going here, and I can't wait to watch him in training camps, because remember, last year when we saw him at training camp, it was just like, holy cow, this guy going against the second team and third team, arguably, he looked like he was playing at a different speed, a different level. I'd like to see him do that against the ones. I'd like to see there be times where he is putting Pat Surtain, who has looked very consistent out there, in the spin cycle, putting these guys on skates, because that for me is part of that jump forward. It's okay to do a guy against second and third teamers. You expect that out of Jerry Jeudy. This is the year where, just like Cortland Sutton did in his second year, where all of a sudden it looked like he was playing at a different level, a wide receiver one level. And he's capable of it.
I'd love to know who got the better of those matchups back when they were both at Alabama. But, maybe that's a question for them next time we get a chance to talk to both of them. But, out here right now, you want to see Jerry getting the better of Pat Surtain. You do. This is his second year. You want to see that. If he can hang on to the ball, if he is able to carry forward all the things that are usually take a wide receiver 2 years to get, Jerry's already got those things. It's the basic thing of just hanging on to the football that's been the only gripe really with him. He gets off the press. He gets off with the release just fine. He's putting people on skates on the rest. We talk about that second and third team. Yeah, he was better than 2/3 of the team when he showed up. At those kinds of things. Now, if you add reliable receiver, reliable hands to that mix, all of a sudden you got a Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver.
Yeah, and he certainly has all the makings of that. And he talked about having Cortland out there. I think that's going to do him wonders. But really what it comes down to for me is also, again, the consistency of quarterback who's throwing it to him, how he's feeling. He talked about Drew Lock having a little bit of zip on that. You do wonder about the chemistry as you're working with two different quarterbacks, because he seems like a chemistry kind of guy. Jerry Jeudy, especially with the way he runs his routes, he seems like a guy that if he's on the same page as the quarterback, it's an unfair advantage for the offense. But if he's not on the same page, they're both going to look silly.
Yeah, I think that's a part of it. I think reading and recognizing from one of the quarterbacks is going to be big. There were some plays where Jerry Jeudy felt like he was open last year. And to be fair, he was. But at the same time, to be fair to the quarterbacks, was he a reliable option? Did that quarterback feel confidence enough putting the ball in his hands on those kinds of plays? And so I understand it from both sides of the coin. When Jerry shows that he's a reliable target, those quarterbacks are more apt to believe in him and more apt to put the ball on him in situations where they might otherwise have not.
Yeah, and for the Broncos to take a big step forward on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to need Jerry Jeudy this year. And we talked about Noah Fant, we talked about Courtland Sutton, getting them all back out on the field. But the fact is, if you want to be an offense that takes a pretty major step forward, you need your top-end guys to also simultaneously do that. I do wonder for Jerry and what's ultimately going to mean for his career if he can be a 1,000-yard receiver, if he can be maybe even push to double-digit touchdowns. I mean, you talked about the way you'd use Jerry Jeudy in the red zone when the Broncos first drafted him. I don't think anything really changed in that, especially for a team that wants to be more prolific in passing in the red zone.
Well, yeah, and the other guys on the team that are going to be starting, Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton, are known as reliable hands guys. They're known as contest and catch reliable hands guys. So you're going to be Jerry Jeudy. You got to be the game breaker. You got to be the guy who's able to get vertical and catch the football. You got to be the guy who's able to take when they clear out. You got to be able to catch the underneath and take it somewhere. And so it all starts with being reliable with those hands. If you got that down, then the rest of it's going to come easy to you.
All right. Thank you to Steve Atwater for joining us earlier. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. We appreciate you for watching Broncos Country Tonight.